what I'm going to talk something about what we as an Indian doing on the marine system. This is not the work which I myself alone did it or my institution did it. It is the work contributed by several organizations and several individuals of India. So that's what I'm going to present 4 case studies, which so that the people who are attending the webinars may get a sunflower. Before that, I must thank to Dr. Bijay Kumar, the University of Kerala, for giving me this opportunity. I think this is a nice platform to enlighten the youngsters towards the marine biodiversity conservation in the country, because this is something which is still lacking. We need more people to come forward to work in the conservation, because so that we can secure the livelihood of the local coastal community. So that is the prime objective of this conservation program. This is the photos which always I showed, because this is the species right now I'm focusing with the help of the government of India as well as the 3 state government. I will be sharing with it soon there. India, as I quickly talk about the Indian biodiversity, all of you are aware that we are one of the mega biodiversity countries. When we talk about mega biodiversity countries, we largely refer to the terrestrial biota. The attention to the aquatic biota was very, very less. That reflect from our conservations effort. For example, we largely focus on the protecting the terrestrial habitat rather than the protecting the aquatic, because we are very, very poor in taking care of the habitat of the several marine biodiversity which occurs in our country. And you know very well that we are rich in marine biodiversity, but unfortunately, all the panelists as well as the people who are attending accept me that we are very poor in knowledge base also with respect to marine biodiversity. But if we have the institution like CMF or a Zoological Survey of India, they have been working for almost more than 10 decades in our country. They contributed, they themselves believe that we could recognize about 20,000 species of marine biodiversity, fauna and flora in our country, but we yet to identify another 20,000. This is what they believe coming from the experts in India. So still we consider marine biodiversity is one of the lesser known group of biodiversity, which is not at all good for taking up any kind of a conservation or management plan, even talking about sustainable management. Without a data, without a scientific information, very difficult for us to move ahead. But we are lacking that particular information. And also the marine biodiversity, many species are highly threatened, but we are unable to do anything on this except few species which we could protect legally. And I know Sebastian sir is here. He will agree with me that we are unable to put more species in the Wildlife Protection Act. The reason is it is linked with the livelihood. We don't want to at any cost to affect the livelihood of the coastal community. And with coming to the conservation efforts, as I told you earlier, we are very poor in conserving the marine biodiversity, whether with respect to species conservation or with respect to habitat conservation. We are actually right now taking care of the less than 1% of the threatened species which occurs in the marine environment of our country. So with this background only, I'm going to talk about some of the still, actually, though we have a lot of limitation, lot of issues, but yet India actually proved to be one of the forwarding country with respect to conserving the marine biodiversity. That's what I'm going to talk next 20 minutes. So one of the important thing is India has its own National Wildlife Action Plan. Many of you may be aware of this. This is, we call them as a Bible, because all the wildlife conservation in the countries are driven by this National Wildlife Action Plan. And this is a National Wildlife Action Plan flows from our Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which takes care of the lot of things and without affecting the livelihood or economic of the country. In addition to National Wildlife Action Plan or in Wildlife Protection Act, we have several other legal mechanisms to help us to take care of the marine biodiversity, which promote the sustainable management of or sustainable use of the resource which that occurs in the marine environment. And first time in the Indian history of the conservation, the present National Wildlife Action Plan, this is the third National Wildlife Action Plan which the government of India implementing right now since the independence. The plan initiated in 2017, it will go to the 2031. So this is the first time they recognize the importance of the conservation of coastal and marine ecosystem, and they reiterated and given a lot of emphasis to the importance and necessity of taking care of this ecosystem. So there is a willingness from the government that we have to do something to take care of the things. But the basic objective of this particular conservation program in this particular chapter in the National Wildlife Action is to secure the livelihood of the coastal community. That is the hidden and the important agenda behind all the actions suggested in this action plan. So based on that, India has the species recovery plan for many threatened species that occurs in a terrestrial as well as in a marine environment. We are very clear in our approach in conserving the marine biodiversity that is different from the terrestrial biodiversity. That is the reason Wildlife Institute of India way back in 2009 developed a different set of guidelines, because when you go for recovering the species in the marine environment, we should address the issues related to livelihood, because many stakeholders in the marine system, that may not be that case in the case of terrestrial system. That's why we had a separate two different kind of guidelines which developed, and the government of India notified this in 2009. So based on these guidelines, the first recovery program in which myself I involved, that is the God's own cows, we call them, that is the dugong, the sea cows that occurs in our country. Right now, we have three populations of sea cow in our country, one at Gujarat coast, Gulf of Kutch, and then another one in the Tamil Nadu coast in Pakpe and Kalfap region. And then third populations, we have it in Andaman and Nicobar. So we have a very highly fragmented populations. This is a population, when you talk about that, it is not only the Indian efforts, it's the global efforts. And the global community recognized India as one of the regional leaders in conservation of marine biodiversity, especially with respect to many species, including a dugong and a sea turtle. So India hosted the first regional workshop for the South Asian countries, that too in Gulf of Mannar region in Tuticorin. And we called all the delegates, all the heads of the countries which occurs in the South Asia. We discussed about the conserving the dugong and jointly. So in starting from that program, so the program of the conservation launched, and before that we addressed that dugongs in India is a critically endangered. Although it is globally, it's a vulnerable species, but in the Indian level, at a regional level, it is very critically endangered species, because we have less than 250 individual. Again, 250 individual also guesstimate. We don't have any scientific census so far conducted, which we have been trying to now. It is a poor breeding capacity, very low fecundity rate, especially the people who are from the fishery background, you understand the fecundity. This dugong has a very low fecundity rate. And there is an issue of poaching. Though the protected species, still is a poach. And the fishing net entanglement is the biggest problems we are facing in our country, because the dugong habitats are rich in biodiversity, including the fish resources. So there is an interface between the fishing community, fisheries, and the dugong survival. So that is one issues, major issues which we identified. Of course, boat strikes, the mechanized boats, when they move fast, they can hit this animal, because this poor, wonderful animal can't swim fast. They are actually floaters. They swim very slow. And then habitat loss, as usual, the seagrass habitat, the habitat of the sea cow, are deteriorating in for many reasons. If you talk about in Gujarat, where pollution is the biggest problem, when you're coming to the Tamil Nadu, the fisheries interface is a problem. And Andaman Nicobar, what we found that it is a kind of a fragmentation of the habitat. There is a limitation in the habitat coverage which occurs in Andaman. This is with these issues, we launched the program of the national level with 4 objectives. The one is address the issues related to individual, means species itself, and then address the issues related to habitat. While doing these two, because these two parts are conservation, but we know very well in India, not only in India, elsewhere in the world, without support of the local fishing community, we can't do any conservation program in the marine ecosystem and the coastal ecosystem. We need their support. So we reiterated, and we actually at the beginning itself, we were convinced that the participatory management is the best approach in recovering the critically endangered dugong and their habitats in our country. While doing these 3 things, we also understood that there is a lack of capacity, because in Indian Forest Manager, myself belongs to the Wildlife Institute of India. We train the Indian Forest Service officer largely to manage the terrestrial biota. And we don't give much training to how to manage the marine ecosystem. So there is a lack of capacity that we initiated recently to fill this gap last 7 years. I'll be sharing with that what we did it in the last 7 years. So the capacity building, it's not only the forest department, we understood, we do build the capacity for other line department and also the local community. So this, because why we should build the local community capacity, because one of the objectives is to go for a sustainable conservation. The incentives for the conservation, the benefit of the conservation must go to the fisherman community. So we identified that tourism is the biggest potential. So we want to train this youth in towards the tourism in our country. When you are prepared these things, we also know, because all of you know, India has a two-tier of governance, one at central level, that is a federal governance. Then we have a state level governance. So the state government, especially Tamil Nadu, Andaman Nicobar, and Gujarat, where dugong occurs, they have been doing a lot of works on dugong conservation. And we want to integrate their ongoing conservation program with a national program, which we did it in consultation with the various stakeholders. I remember all the stakeholders, we haven't left anybody, because this program we initiated in 2015. We met all organizations, whether it is civil society, whether it's a government bodies or universities. We involved in many things. More than 100 stakeholders have been involved in developing this particular conservation. Then we reached into the field. And then when we reached into the field, we realized that the importance of taking the Indian Navy and Coast Guard to conserve this species. So we started negotiating with them. Then they are very happily and came forward to help with us to recover the dugong. They have been helping us. And we also got the support from the global community, that is the Convention on Migratory Species, the Dugong MU Secretariat, located in Abu Dhabi. So these are the organizations helping us in the recovery program in our country. We do a lot of research, but I don't want to go in depth in the research activities, which if you want, I can share with you later some other occasions. But we looked into, because there are a lot of gaps in the data. So we want to fill that gaps also while doing the conservation. So we looked into massive habitat level assessment and looking into the seagrass, their habitat, the quality of the habitat, issues related to seagrass growth, and what are the important species that dugong occur. So all those things we started doing it. We started looking into the critical habitat of the dugong, looking into the feeding trials, because they feed and make a burrow sign. We are looking into those information, identifying the critical habitat. Then finally, we narrowed down what are the critical habitat we have it in our country with respect to seagrasses. And then we overlaid with the threats. There are so many threats, pollution, fisheries related, boat strike, and poaching. All those threats were actually overlaid with the critical habitat, then looked into the critical habitat where we should give a intervention or management attention. So for example, the critical habitat identified, one of the critical habitat we identified in a Park Bay in Tamil Nadu coast, that we recommended the government of Tamil Nadu to declare that area as a conservation reserve. We were very careful in recommendation, because we don't want to declare that area as the some questions that I will answer later on. We don't want to declare any protected area as a national park or a sanctuary, because Sebastian knows very well. People are not happy with such kind of protected area system, but we recommended for a conservation reserve, which actually facilitated the governance of that particular reserve by the community, facilitated by the government. So we recommended, and I'm getting some positive news from the government of Tamil Nadu that very soon it is going to be declared because of the intervention of the High Court of Madras. Then finally, we come up with the critical habitats all over the country. Now we are focusing this particular critical habitat in a conservation. And then the second thing is how many dugongs we have it. What is the issues in the individual level? We know we have been trying to do this with the board survey, which we know that it is having a lot of limitation. Then we look into the aerial route. And the aerial route is also, the using a helicopter is the issue, because all dugong habitats are sensitive area. bordering with the neighboring countries, so we can't go for that. So now we're using the drones, underwater drones as well as aerial drones. But again, we are not ruling out the bird survey. The advantage of the bird survey is we involve the community. For example, each survey, we involve the 50 birds. So it is a dual purpose. One is create awareness among the fishermen community, because the 50 boat with almost 150 people participating in this people, all are local fishermen. When they go for a 20-kilometer ride and then looking for a dugong, so they themselves actually aware the importance of this. Is what we have been doing it. And we got a lot of excellent information so far using our aerial drones and underwater drones. Very soon we'll come with the exact number of the dugongs which occurs in our Indian waters. Then we also try to create a network, Dugong Volunteer Network. We have more than 1,000 people. Mostly they are the fishermen youth and divers in Andaman, so tourist operators, marine police, coast guard, navy. These are the people are in our network. What they do, whenever they dive and they come across, they click the photo of the dugong and they send with us. So we are using this thing, these photographs to estimate the population using a mark country capture method. We'll be again comparing or relating this method with our aerial drone survey, so that we'll come up with a better picture on the status of dugong in our country. So while doing it, we also want to look into the genetically what's happening to our population, because dugongs are fragmented. We have a 3 population, that in a very, very small number. So we started conducting a genetic analysis. We actually luckily got the 20%, about 30 individuals of dugong. Wherever it is standards in different parts of the coast, our network helped us with the help of the forest department. We got the sample, we analyzed. What we found that there are good news that genetically dugongs in India is highly diverse, no issue with its heterogeneity. And also we found dugongs are unique into Indian population. And later on we come to know recently that India has the highest diversity of dugong. In fact, we had 3 more dugong species in ancient period, which we got it now. So very soon we will be come up with the research information saying that there are 4 dugongs information originated from India. So what we believe that dugong might have originated from India, but we are working on it to prove this particular fact. And then after starting the study, we realized that there are one more issue which we never visualized, the host nets. Because the host net is a problem for the fishermen. We know that their fishing net getting entangled with the net left over in the sea. This is the issue, especially in the coast of Kerala and Maharashtra, we know that, but we never realized that this become a big issue for dugong too, and many turtles. So these coast nets are fallen on the seagrass left over by the fishermen, or became a dead trap for the dugong. So now we started removing this dugong host net with the help of the State Forest Department, Marine Police, Fisheries, Coast Guard, and local university coming forward to volunteer this particular work. We have done massive work in Gulf of Mannar and Gulf of Kutch regions to remove this coast net. Our FACTSHIS program, because we know awareness is a key in the conservation of the marine biodiversity. So we initiated a Dugong Ambassador program in our country that is supporting the poor fishermen children to continue the study till +2. So we identified the poor fishermen children who are fishing in the dugong habitat. We started giving them a scholarship called a dugong scholarship. We pay them 500 rupees per month for continuously 2 years to support their fellowship. We start from 9th standard. If they're continuing the 11th, again we'll give them a fellowship. So they will continue fellowship up to 4 years. So one good thing happened in this, not only that we could convince the parents of these children to stop poaching the dugong, another thing, we also drastically reduced the school dropout of the fishermen children from the school. So there's a dual benefit, we got it. So we are very happy about this particular program, which actually helped us a lot. And of course, as I told you, capacity building is a key. So we organized a series of capacity building program for Indian Forest Service, State Forest Service, Fisheries Department, Coast Guard, Navy, Marine Police. And of course, youth were involved in the aquatic tourism, especially in a Pakpa region and Andaman, we did this program. So it's going very well and people are getting aware of the protecting it. And we could reach about 75,000 people in conservation through local media, national media. I must thankful to all the media in this time because they're helping us a lot. Even global media is helping us a lot in reaching out this message to the global community. In fact, this Dugong scholarship model copied by the several African countries, now they're following it in their country in a different format. We produce so many awareness material. The awareness materials are prepared for teachers and school children differently. Public and media is a differently. Researchers a different material, and manager is the different material. So we have a classified awareness material, and based on depends upon their level of absorbing. So we prepared a different kind of awareness material, and that and all helped us a lot. The fishermen once used to poach this dugong for the meat and money, now started releasing back. I must thank to the State Forest Department, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and Andaman, because this is their efforts in which we actually given some facilitation to them. And the four most important people I must appreciate is the fishermen community themselves, because those guys now come forward to releasing back this animal. This is an amazing success story. We got it. So far in 5 years, we rescued 14 dugongs. It is not the 14 dugongs rescued. We brought down the poaching almost zero. Here and there, 1 or 2 cases coming up. Used to be more than 15 to 20 cases in average in a year, 5 years before. Now the poaching cases startly coming down. So that is a significant success of this particular program. So it clearly says that working with the community and working with all the stakeholders as a partner, we can do a really good job. So dugong is the priority consideration for India, but we needed more time to get a visible result. So the next species, the sea turtle. Sea turtle is the biggest conservation story India has seen. Many of you are aware of that Indian history of the sea turtle conservation, which is almost 70 years old history, because the olive ridley turtles, which comes to Orissa coast, so we believe that 50% of the olive ridley sea turtles coming to the Orissa coast to nest there. And then we do have a different species. We have 5 species of sea turtles in our country, except the loggerhead, which don't nest right now. We don't have any report of nesting, but it occurs in Indian water. But we have report of leatherback occurs in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Hawksbill largely in Andaman Nicobar, that to occur in mainland very sporadically. Hawksbill is the biggest population we have it in our country, Orissa, all along the Indian coast. And then green sea, it's very good, especially in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra. The west coast is a very good population. We have green sea, especially in Lakshadweep also. So it has a life cycle once in a lifetime. It means once in a year. The female comes to the sea turtle seashore to lay eggs for 2 hours. Even that time, just for 2 hours, we don't allow them peacefully come and nest there. We create a lot of problem for this animal. That is the issues in our country. We identified the important sea turtle nesting habitats in our country with the help of the Tachin Foundation did this work. And also we estimated the approximately about 40,000 to 11 lakhs sea turtle comes every year to nest on the Indian coast. And then Tachin Foundation recently identified the important turtle nesting site. About 100 sites have been identified. And also we found out that sea turtles in our India, everywhere it is there, whether it's in Bay of Bengal or in Arabian Sea. Arabian Sea, we just going to start the study with the help of the Maharashtra government soon. But in Bay of Bengal, we done a study already. And of course, Sri Lanka also, we did it myself. I conducted the study, satellite tracking study with a team of people. And we identified that the entire Bay of Bengal is an important site. And also there is a study from Indian Institute of Science and Tachin Foundation. The sea turtle comes, leatherback turtle, come to the Little Andaman. It goes either way to South Africa and Australia, traveling almost 8,000 kilometers. So India playing a major role. India has the responsibility of playing a major role in conservation of sea turtles in the global level. So with this, but we identified a lot of issues there. Issues are there in onshore as well as in offshore, whether it's the loss of nesting patches or coastal development, pollution, nest predation. These are in the onshore. Offshore, we have fishing related mortality, offshore oil exploration, pollution, disease related. So these are the issues we have it. But in the Orissa government proved it well that when they start working with the different agencies along with the community, they could brought down the mortality of the sea turtle, which used to kill, entangle with the fishing nets. I remember in 2003 too, we used to report that 30 to 40,000 of sea turtle used to die. But now the turtle mortality come down less than 100, less than 1,000, sorry. So this is credit entirely goes to the Orissa Forest Department, Marine Police, Coast Guard, Fisheries, Navy, and most importantly, the fishing community themselves. How? Because they started using a turtle exclusive device, and that brought down the mortality of the sea turtles that time. So they could successfully minimize the bycatch of sea turtles. That is one of the classical story we used to tell in the entire global community, how India is brought down the bycatch mortality with the help of the fishing community. Of course, the problem not ends. We have a climate related issues. The beaches in the nesting beaches are dynamic, eroding, and because of these erosions, we are losing the eggs. So one way we could save their turtles from the fishing related mortality, but after nesting, but still we are unable to protect the eggs because of the several other issues. Whether it's a climate or a development program in the coastal habitat, you can tell any number. But one of the another issue we are facing is a major development program like a hydrocarbon exploration. These are also threatening our sea turtle. So what science helped them to identify the critical sea turtle habitat in a Bay of Bengal using a very robust scientific technology. We studied it, we identified it, we given this information to the government of India. Now then government of India had a special planning in which that integrated hydrocarbon exploration in the sea turtle conservation. That means the critical habitats of the sea turtle in Bay of Bengal has been excluded in the hydrocarbon exploration. That is a win-win situation for development and the sea turtle conservation in Bay of Bengal. Several state government, including Kerala and Tamil Nadu, or you name any government, they are very good in conserving the sea turtle, because one of the issues we have in sea turtle conservation is the predation. Dogs predate, some other animal predate, even people predate the eggs. So the forest department collect those eggs. Several civil society organizations also help the department to collect the egg, put it in safer places, hatch them, and then releasing back. This we have been doing it in our country in a big level. I must thank to all the civil society and the state forest department for such a wonderful job we are doing it. But problem still there. So that is the reason the government of India, because the problem is still people kill these animals for a meat, and people, this is the issue is continuing. This is the photo I taken from Virinjam in Kerala. So people still kill this animal for a food. That should be avoided. That's why the government of India recently come up with a policy on the National Action Plan on sea turtle that address the, that is actually the government of India, which commitment which our Honorable Prime Minister made it in the CMS COP in last year in Gandhinagar. We will take care of all the marine biodiversity and also livelihood of the community, which he committed. And after that commitment, he come up and then we come up with the National Action Plan. In that National Action Plan, conserve the sea turtle and want to secure the livelihood of the people. So this is the integration we try to do that. So it has 4 goals: species level, habitat level, involving the people, and then involving the global community. So we given the activities for each goal and objective, it's narrated. This action plan available in online. Anybody interested, you can have a look at that. So this is what these action plans are narrated, and I'm sure that this action plan going to be really helpful for the bringing back our sea turtles in our country, so that fishery resources will be improved in our country. We know when you have a good population of sea turtle, that is indication of the good fishery resources. So we want that is so that the livelihood of the coastal community will improve it. So we have a strength. We have so many civil societies working on the coastal area, and there is a turtle action group that is the India strength to bring back the sea turtles in our country. Then the third species, very important species, the whale shark, is the largest fish in our country. This whale shark identified, these are the location where the hotspot of the whale shark which occurs in our country. They come to Indian coast to breed and give birth to the young one, then take the young one babies to back to their other habitats. When they come, one of the important coastal habitat when come for a breeding is the Gujarat coast. When they come to the Gujarat coast, because although this species is one of the first fish protected under the Wildlife Protection Act, but people used to kill it. And that's the biggest problems we faced it in almost 10 years before. They kill this animal because the fishermen wait for arrival of this animal. They kill it for fins, bones, and then liver because they extract oil from the liver to paint their boat because these are the poor fishermen. So when they were doing it, these activities, department or struggle to protect the species from the fishing community. What they done it, Indian tradition is when our daughter gives the first birth, is the responsibility of the parents to take care of their daughter and their baby and then send their daughter baby safely to the in-laws house. This is the tradition we follow. So same message was conveyed to the fishermen of the Gujarat coast saying that whale sharks are our daughter, they're coming to our house. So this is responsibility of us to send her back with safely with their baby to their in-laws house. So this message worked very well. This message, when we are working, I must appreciate the effort of the Wildlife Trust of India, and then joined with Tata Chemical. It was highly supported by the Gujarat Forest Department because that is the financial huge support they're given it. They reach the people, convincing the fishing community, don't kill this species. It worked, actually, it worked. Then the people stopped killing this animal. If you look at that in almost last 10 years, we could save about 800 whale sharks. They were entangled in the fishing nets. Not only the people are not stopping killing, in fact, even that animal entangled in the fishing net, fishermen started releasing back. Those released animal, fishermen were given honor. The same concept we also tried in a Dugong. It working very well in the country. But problem continues. People still poach the animal. We protected a lot of species, but still do an illegal trade on the species for their fins and bones, whatever mechanism enforcement we have it, still people do. Again, I come back to the commitment of our Honorable Prime Minister, who committed the global community that we will take care of the marine ecosystem because we have to commit to the SDG 4. This is what the topic, life below water. We have to take care of all the biodiversity, promote the sustainability. That is the reason the Prime Minister in the August 15 announced the Project Dolphin, launched the Project Dolphin of the country, and myself involved in developing the DPR right now. Still we are working it. We had a one round of stakeholder consultation. We sent to the main major stakeholders their comments. We are still working on it. It is about we are utilizing huge money investing this program. And again, the Prime Minister is very categorically mentioned that the people should get benefited because of the Project Dolphin. That's what is very planned. Yes, dolphin should be conserved, but at the same time, people should be benefited, especially the local coastal communities. So this document will be coming very soon. This document going to take care of the 35 species as a flagship species, and plus their habitat. That is what important things. We identified a problem. There are so many, whether it's a fisheries bycatch, overfishing, pollution, global climate change, boat and ship strike, noise pollution, habitat loss, habitat degradation, and the diseases. These are the issues that are identified in our country for the dolphin and whales and their habitats in our country. So again, it has a goals and objective: conserve habitat, conserve species, improve the understanding of the research, enhance the livelihood and with sustainable tourism, mariculture, promote awareness through outreach and education, capacity building. These are the things we actually put it in this particular document. And most important thing is the bycatch mitigation measure. That is our priority action right now with the help of the fishing community, especially not the traditional fishing community. Their role is very limited because the impact on the bycatch on the marine mammal is caused by the mechanized boat by and large. So now we are going to primarily focus on the mechanized boat, and there are measures, very good measures are available. Without losing the livelihood, we can actually bring down the bycatch so that the whales and dolphins, sea turtle won't get entangled in the fishing net. So we have a technique, we have an action plan, we have planned to do that, which is this action plan is doing it. And also another important thing, securing habitat. As I mentioned earlier, people in India doesn't like protected area, but we need a protected area because we somehow convince the community that protected area means securing their livelihood for the future generation. Some more people think that protected area means it become a no-go area and we will lose a livelihood. This concept has to be changed. This mindset has to be changed. So this particular project dolphin, we identified the important dolphin and whales habitat, and this habitat will be managed with the local community without disrupting the livelihood. This is what the plan we are actually right now developing. Hopefully it will come very soon. It will be implemented the first time in our country. This program will be implemented with several ministries, several organizations, because this is a lesson we learned from Dugong. The moment if we join with the various department and community, we can get a good result. So based on the experience we gained from the Dugong conservation in our country, so we are replicating the same model in a project dolphin, in which we are involving various ministry, various department, universities, various national and state level institutions in bringing back these species. So with this, I'm concluding here.